Okay, everyone. Oh gosh, I have the camera down on the table space. Hang on a second. Let me change the camera over so I can talk to you in person here just a minute. Sorry, I had that all discombobulated a little bit. Anyway, hello. I am so excited. I've got this like light on to give myself lighting more, and it's right here on my glasses. I'm like getting a glare. I feel like I should hold my finger there. Anyway, I am Christina Taylor. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator coming to you from North Canton, Ohio today. And I am sharing with you a paper hugs class. We are doing all kinds of caring note, encouragement, thinking of you, all those kind of things, those cards that we need like quickly, and sometimes we just don't have them on hand. So we are doing those today. So I'm excited to share the projects with you. The ladies at class loved them. So that's exciting. And we were in the creativity barn and the new furnace is working and it's nice and warm and all the things. So that's exciting. I mean, yesterday or the day before we were like at 70 degrees and for class, we were at 36, I think was the high. So, we're in March, and that's what we get in March for the state of Ohio. Never know. Wait 5 minutes and it'll change. So, yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to share with you something that I created. What could I made? Here, I'll try to get it on the camera. I made some paper flowers, some poppies and daisies and pansies, and I think these are chrysanthemums, and these are like a little baby rose. Isn't this just the cutest? It was a labor of love. So I wanted to share it with you because I have it in my stamp studio. So I have, fresh flowers all the time, like fresh paper flowers anyway. So I thought I would share that with you today, before I start this video, and then, or before we start creating the projects anyway. And I think that might be it. I'm going to turn the camera down and share the projects with you, share a couple things that we've got going on this month. And yeah. But I hope you like what I've prepared today. If you're not already a subscriber to my channel, please go to YouTube and search Christina Taylor at Stamp Me Crazy and hit that subscribe button so you'll get my videos. And then it has like a whole archive of videos. So if you want to go back and like relearn a project or something we did or a class that you missed, something like that, you can always find good ideas there. And feel free to, if you're signed into your account for YouTube, feel free to comment like which card you like the best out of the ones we did, or if you picked up a tip that you've never done before as far as creating, like leave that in the comments and make sure to like the video too. So, all right, I'm gonna turn the camera down or switch it back over to the desktop and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. So this is where I started initially. So this is a peek of the projects that we're going to do today. Just some really soft colors, some muted tones, but then some bright colors too. And I'm going to offer you a different color palette template for this project and this project, kind of the reverse of using the washi tape. So we'll talk about that when I get to it there. And then what else do I have to share with you here? Let me put this to the side. This is our Notes of Spring. This is the product of the month. So this stamp set is super adorable. I do not have mine yet to be able to show it to you, but this will give you an idea of the imagery in the stamp set and then a quick little project that they have created, Stampin' Up! Has created. But this is our product of the month for March. So if you are shopping online or with me and you spend $75 or more, and that's before shipping and tax, you can choose this stamp set for only $5. And I would say this probably the stamp set value is probably like an $18 value with it has some sentiments in it and imagery. So that's a great price. Plus it's got these great little spring images as far as with the bunny, the little goose, or duck. I don't know. I guess it depends on how you stamp it. You can make it a little goose or a duck. And then the little deer, and then you've got some greenery pieces and some sentiments. So that's the new product of the month. We're going to be using the product of the month for February. I'm going to use that in one of the projects today. So I'll share that with you. That is still available, and it is a great pack of designer series paper. So we'll talk about that more as we go on. I do want to mention, let's see, before we get started, let me move this aside here. Okay. This is a class that I have coming up next Thursday. It's a kit together class, but we are making the birthday card organizer and 12 cards. So you've got this organizer, this card design with envelopes. So let me give you a peek at that here. I do still have a couple spots left. So if you're interested, just message me after you watch this video. It is in-person class, and we'll be in my home for this class because it's just a small group. I limited the number of spots that I have available, and it's $30 per person. So with that, it includes all your supplies. So you'll get everything that you need to make these 12 cards. You'll get the organizer, and then we'll just have some fun social time together as we create. So this is the organizer with this beautiful rose palette on it, but to me, it actually kind of looks like peonies, if I'm being honest. That's what I want to say, but I think it's roses, but it is, because look at the little buds, there it is. But that's just kind of what I thought it was, a peony. Anyway, you've got all these month little pouches where you can then put your birthday cards. You can put these in here. It's like, say, if you've got, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, friend, whomever to send birthday card to. And so you've got one for each month. And then you've got extra pockets to keep like backup things if you need to send, if you want to put some, like the cards we're making in today's class, if you want some carrying note card classes, carrying note cards just to have on hand, you can put those in the front or the back pocket. This is a great little idea to do as a gift, to give to like for Mother's Day gift or like a bridal shower. For somebody that's new to the family and you want to write down all the family birthdays in there and put cards in there, that would be a great little gift for someone. But these are the cards. So you've got this design. Okay. And then you've got this really fun envelope. They've got the pattern paper on the inside. And then you've got this design, which you could use for a little bit more masculine if you want some masculine feminine, but it would also be a nice feminine card as well. And you've got the gingham on the inside too. And then it comes with embellishments. So you'll have your embellishments, you'll have your tear and tape, dimensionals, like everything you need. So you'll end up with 6 of each card and the organizer all for $30. And that is it's next Thursday. I'm trying to think. I think it's the 26th. Oh my gosh, you think I'd know that. It's the 26th. March 26th from 1 to 3 p.m. So registration closes, I think, on next Monday. So you've got several days to register if you'd like. You can always just message me and see if I have spots left, and I'd love to have you join us. All right, let me get the supplies for our first project. Okay, all right, so I've got all the supplies necessary for this next project. And let me go ahead and start by kind of sharing with you what we're going to do. So this is the first project we're going to make. You can see some beautiful embossing on there. We've got some stamping, some die cutting. We're using the washi tape, which I'll share with you in a little bit. Okay. So with this project, you will have one card in your packet that will have the Strawberry Slush and Soft Seafoam color palette. And then you will have, I'm going to grab, because I'm going to do one in a different design. You will have one in your packet with the Petunia Pop and Coastal Cabana. All other elements will be the same, but the little die cuts will complement this color palette. I'll explain more when we get to that. But I did one of each. And again, I'll explain that coming up. Okay. All right, so let me set this aside. So what we're using in this project, we are using Coastal Cabana. We're using Petunia Pop ink. Soft sea foam and strawberry slush. Now, these two I'm not going to use on this project, but they were used on my example. Okay, the soft sea foam there, the strawberry slush here. So I'll set those aside. The embossing folder that I'm using is the Eyelet 3D embossing folder. I've used the Stylish Stitch Shapes dies, and I've used the third largest circle. And then the friendly foliage stamp set, I have taken the Thinking of You out of there to use on this project. So that gives us a nice little sentiment. A Thinking of You card you can make for just a lot of different occasions. And then I've also grabbed the Greenery Lane stamp, and I took this little image to kind of complement our washi tape and stamp on the inside of the card as well as the envelope. So that's where that came from. Then the big stamps the big stamp that I'm using is the Extraordinary Floral stamp set. So it has a large photopolymer stamp with all the blossoms on it, and that's what we're going to use to stamp on our Coastal Cabana or our soft sea foam, whichever you be using. And then I'm also using the Extraordinary Flora die, which is a one-piece die that works with the washi tape. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. Okay. So let me set some of these things aside. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start with our pieces that I've got here. And on this one, I used a piece of Petunia Pop, and we're using it 5.5 by 8.5. It's scored at 4.25. I've got a piece of just basic white, and this is 3.25 by 5, I think 5.5. This is what I'm going to put the washi tape on. So you would not have this in your kit because I have die cut the little washi tape pieces for you. Then I've got a piece of basic white that's 3.5 by 5. I've got our larger piece of basic white that is 4 by 5.25, and that has already been embossed with the Eyelet 3D embossing folder. So you can see all the texture on that. And then for this one, I'm using the Coastal Cabana. So it's 2.5 by 4. You will have the soft sea foam, same measurements as well, and then our envelope. I've also gone ahead and die cut out one of the circles from the Stylish Stitch Shapes that we're going to be using for our sentiment. Okay, so I'm going to set those supplies aside. Let me come back in with this washi tape. If you're kind of working ahead and you're putting your card together, so you can see that the label with the sentiment on it, that is elevated with some dimensionals. Other than that, everything is like flush to the card. So that's the only thing that I popped up on mine and did a little stamping on the inside. So I'm just going to put that right here so you can kind of see that in the frame. So let's talk about this washi tape a little bit. So if you have not used this product, I highly recommend you get some. It is just the coolest thing. So I'm gonna get it started here. Okay. Wait, let me turn this. I need to put it up against me a little bit so I can get it started. All right, so I'm gonna peel that away. And so there's sections. It starts with like this little golden leaf, a little blossom with two leaves coming out of it, and then this leaf right here. And you can see it repeats up here as well. So what I'm going to do is take my scissors. My scissors. It's just gonna kind of roll up on me here a bit. I'm gonna take and cut this off right at that spot. Okay, so I've cut that off, so that'll be the next color template. I'll be able to pull it and it'll be a full sheet. And when I say full sheet, it's going to line up completely with this die. Okay, so I'm just going to set that aside, bring this back in. And put this on the cardstock. I'm going to flatten that out. If you get any little wrinkles or creases, just use your bone folder to kind of flatten them out. Okay. Okay, so see, I've got that all on there. Now you could use this as a piece of designer series paper for background, which we're going to do on another project. But I am going to take and die cut this all out. So as you can see here, it matches up completely with this die, and it will die cut and make an embellishment out of all these. So let me grab a sticky note, which I'm going to take and put, I like to take a sticky note and put it across here to hold this in place, and I'm going to run it through the die cut machine, and I'll be right back. Okay, I ran that through the die cutting machine. Let me take my sticky note off. Okay, and then it's going to, I'm going to be able to easily pop out all of these little guys. Everything's out of there. And just that quick, I have all these little great little embellishments that I can use on my card. Okay. So when I was making these for the class, I went ahead and put the washi tape on the cardstock and went ahead and did all the die cutting because I wanted to make sure that everybody had the three different elements, well, actually four, to be able to use on their card and that it went with the color template for each project. So this is what I ended up with. I got a little container, one of our old storage containers, and I just kind of separated everything in the different categories so I could pull from and know that I had stuff for everybody's project for the class. So I ended up with a lot of, as you can see here, I ended up with a lot of these leaf pieces left over because I didn't use them on the project. And then a lot of these little guys, this with the little rosebuds and then the little like black-eyed Susans. So I'm definitely going to do something with those, but they're already like little embellishments ready to go for me to create with. They're colored, they're all die cut, they're good to go. So from this one die cut sheet, I'm getting these pieces here. All right, and so I'm using the Petunia Pop, and let me circle back to this thing. So on the next sheet of the washi tape, you're going to get more of the strawberry slush color tone. So I would get more of these, where on this one, you're seeing the Petunia Pop, which is what I'm going to work with on the project. So each one, you're getting a series of these blossoms all like complementing the strawberry slush. And then the next one is going to be all complementing like Petunia Pop. We have more purples and blues, where this one's more greens and pinks. So hopefully that makes sense. I think the washi tape is a great investment. I highly recommend it because I think it's super versatile. On this one, I'm going to use the rose because that's going to be different than the example. And some of the kits have the rose in there. I'm also going to use this little piece of like, I'm going to say it's eucalyptus. I don't know, but that's what I'm going to say it is. And let me grab this one. Okay, so I am going to use on the purple, let me just make sure that's everything. Yeah, I'm going to grab these ones right here. And we'll just go ahead and put all the rest of these. I'll put them in my box and be able to use them on another project. Okay. Now I can tell you on this project with this one little piece of, like I said, I'm calling it eucalyptus. I don't know if that's what it is, but in my world, that's what it's going to be. I'm going to cut it like in half because it is a little bit longer than I want to work with around the circle. So I'm going to create two pieces here and just kind of shape those little leaves so that I've got two pieces to work with instead of one long one. Okay, so we've got that set aside. Right, we're going to come in with our card stock and fold our card base in half. Now that we've got all of our die cutting essentially done. And we're going to do a little stamping. So let me grab these things. First, what we're going to do is we're going to ink our large floral stamp. We're going to ink that with our Coastal Cabana. Okay. And for this one, I'm just going to place my cardstock right on the stamp. And then I've got my little silicone mat, and I'm just going to press that down with my fingers. Okay. Flip that over. And you're just getting a nice faint like design. It's not going to be hugely overpowering. And then you know what? On right here, I didn't get as dark as I want. So I'm gonna actually ink it again and I'm gonna stamp on the other side. I felt like it's better to stamp this way for me because I can like put the pressure on it that I want. But maybe I did not apply enough. So let me press down with a little bit more with the palm of my hand. Okay, perfect. That's much better. I like that much better. There's two sides to every piece of paper, so we're good to go. Okay, so then I'm going to take my chamois and just clean that off. And that is all set. Set that aside. All right, we're going to do a little stamping on the inside layer with this little guy, this little stem that I got from the Greenery Lane. Yep, I'll just do one. I'm going to do some on the envelope though. Okay, clean that off. Like that. And I also want to stamp my sentiment. So I want to do a thinking of you sentiment. And I'm just going to stamp that in the center of the stitch circle. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and shut the ink pads so I do not set my cardstock inside of or on top of one of them. And then we're ready to assemble our card. So I'm going to take my embossed layer and use some of the liquid Tombow glue, which this is going up in price. If you like our green glue, as a lot of people call it, even though it doesn't come out green, it's going up to, I think, $6.50 a bottle. Our dimensionals are also going up. I think they're $4.25 now. They're going up to $5. And some of our other adhesives as well. So, you know, like everything around us, everything's going up in price. So, if you need to stock up, now's a good time before the new catalog comes out in May. That inside layer in there. Okay. And we're gonna, let's see, that was the side I didn't get stamped as well. So I don't want to put that one on top. I'm gonna put this down. Frame it. There we go, kind of in the center. And then get my label that I stamped my sentiment on and come in here with some dimensionals. I'll put 3 on there. Okay, and I'm just going to set this over to the side. right there. Okay. Now then I'm gonna, on this one, you can see this, the floral pieces are just slightly different, but they all complement and kind of go around the circle, which is the same. I want to create like kind of the same look. So I'm gonna put a little adhesive on my rose and tuck that right there in the lower portion. I'm gonna take this blossom and put it over here. Okay. And then this one, the little eucalyptus that I cut. See, when it was long like that, I just felt like putting it right there. Well, it was straight, so it would have just been like that. And I did not like the way that looked personally. So I'm gonna kind of play with this a little bit and see how I want. Let's see. I think I'm gonna do that. Okay, so I'm gonna put this one down there, and then take this one right there, just kind of ever so slightly over top of that. And then there's a little piece of something there. Okay, we'll push that one down there. Okay. Okay, so there is our first card. Just a simple thinking of you. The star of the show here is, well, really it all works together nicely, but you've got the embossed cardstock behind, but then these die cut washi embellishments are just beautiful. They make the colors pop around in the card. So yeah, I hope you like it. I hope that you like, actually, if you've gotten a kit to go and you're creating these at home, that you like that you have two different color palettes to work from here. And they both work nicely with those die cut embellishments out of the washi tape. So let me clear this one off and I'll come back with another project for you. Okay, so this next project that we're going to do features the Greenery Lane washi tape. So similar concept that what we used before, only on this card, we're going to use it as a piece of designer series paper. So that is something that just shows you the versatility of this project. And I've still got probably, oh my gosh, at least half the roll left. And I probably cut like, I don't even know, like 40 or 50 of these to make for cards. So you're going to get a lot of, what do I want to say? You're going to get a lot of use out of one roll of this washi tape. So we're not die cutting these, but I did want to show you. So there are die cuts to go along with this washi tape, the Greenery Lane um, dies. And these dies here cut out the images in the washi tape. So that's going to give you these little precious things. So you'll get these in all kinds of greens and blues and be able to use them as embellishments on your card like we just did on that last project. Okay, so I wanted to share that with you, even though we're not die cutting on this one, on the washi tape, we're going to use it as like essentially a piece of designer series paper. Okay, so in addition to the Greenery Lane dies, we're also going to use this die out of here and this detailed die. We're using the Greenery Lane stamp set. I've gone ahead and grabbed this image out of there. We used this on the last project as well. And we're going to use that as to create some imagery on our stamp set or on our project. And then we're also using Prayers and Promises. This is a beautiful stamp set offered in the January through April catalog, as are the Greenery Lane products, both the bundle, washi tape, all that good kind of stuff. So I've grabbed this stamp set and we're using the Keeping You in My Thoughts, Holding You in My Heart, and Remembering You in My Prayers. Okay. Again, the Greenery Lane washi tape, we're using that. The colors that I'm using are Pool Party, Pretty Peacock, and Lost Lagoon. We're using the To the Point label punch. And I think that's it. I think that's everything. Okay. All right. Let me move these aside here. On a side note, before I start this project, because my camera was out of adjustment here, I should put this right there so you can see it. Um, if you are wanting to shop for any of the products that I'm using in today's class, you can go to my online store at stampingucrazy.stampinup.net and log into your online account, and you can shop from there. Don't forget to check out the last chance list while you're there. Our online exclusives, we got a bunch of them that started March 1st. So you can view those there as well as the product of the month. So I just thought I'd pop that in here. I'll move that back out of the line of sight because we need all the real estate we can for this project. So you'll notice on this project here, the card base is pretty peacock. On this one I'm going to create, it's Lost Lagoon. So because this washi tape is, let me see if I can figure out where I cut it right there. Okay, so you can see where it kind of lines up here, lines up down here as far as the washi tape pattern. So I put the full sheet of washi tape on a piece of white cardstock and then I cut it in half. So you're able to use half on this card, half on another card. When doing that, I felt like it was best to offer the flip of the other project, meaning like this one is pretty peacock with a layer of Lost Lagoon and a punch out of Lost Lagoon, where this one's going to be a card base of Lost Lagoon and a layer and a punch out of the pretty peacock to kind of complement the washi tape in a different color palette. Similar but different. Hopefully you're with me on what I'm saying here. So you might start with this one in your project, or you might have this one, but you will have one of each. If you're working ahead and you're wanting to go ahead and get a jump on the project, everything is fastened flush to the card except for the greeting. It's popped up on dimensionals, and there you do have to remember to cut this label in half to get that layering there. So if you're working ahead, you just don't want to miss those little tricks and then end up not doing your project the way you want it done. So I'm just going to set this over to the side. And we'll go ahead and start by sharing the measurements for our projects. So we've got our white envelope. We have a piece of Lost Lagoon that is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25. You've got a piece of Pretty Peacock or Lost Lagoon, either one, and it's going to be 2 inches by 5.5. You'll also have a punch out of the Pretty Peacock and the Lost Lagoon, as far as on the to the point label punch. And then you're going to have 2 sections of the washi tape, and this is 1 3/4 by 5.5. Those will layer with your Pretty Peacock and Lost Lagoon. You're going to have a die cut garden green detailed die cut piece, and you'll have that for both your projects. And then you're going to have a white die cut piece that you can then stamp with the pool party to complement your project, and we'll be doing that. This piece, oh, I think I must have had this here for the washi tape. Nope, that's for my punch out. This is an extra piece for my punch out when I stamp my sentiment. And then this is your inside layer, which is 3.5 by 5. Okay. We also are using the Stamparatus, our stamp positioner. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I can kind of put that out of the way. All right, we'll bring this in here. So I had a note at class just to make sure that the pink paper was up in the corner so that way you were getting the same positioning with your image if you had to go down and re-stamp it. So I'm going to do this in the pool party. Let me ink that up. Okay. And then bring that closed. And stamp that down. I'll just use my little positioner here to, and there we go. Okay, so just that easy. I find that doing it this way for class, put that back down. when offering the stamparatus and doing that way, it's just much easier for the ladies to be able to put their die cut in there and stamp it down than to have to do those each individually. It just makes it easier for everyone at class, and that's what I love doing for ladies that come to my classes. Just making it easy, making it a very pleasurable experience. At least that is my goal. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and flatten the card base there and use my bone folder to give that a good crease. And we're going to do a little stamping. Whoops, I'm sorry, the project was out of the way there. We're going to come in and do a little stamping. So on this one, I'm going to use Pretty Peacock for my sentiment. And then I'm going to stamp some Lost Lagoon for my images. So I'm going to use this and stamp some images for the inside layer. And you know what? I'll go ahead and do the envelope as well. Just doing some two tones. Give a little bit of extra leaves on there, and we'll do it in front here too. Okay. So clean that one off. And then I'm going to go ahead with my sentiment and my to the point punch. So I'm going to ink that up. Oops, I think that's upside down. I'll ink that up. Stamp that down. And I'll use my punch by inserting that cardstock up through the top of the punch. Then that way, by flipping it over, I can kind of see where my sentiment is. And I like that that's all centered placement wise. I'm going to go ahead and punch that out. Really easy. Okay. So I've got all my pieces. I'm going to go ahead and start assembling my card. I am going to shut these ink pads. Before the next project, I'll share with you a little bit of update about our ink pads too. Did I clean that one off? Okay. I couldn't remember if I had. Okay, so we've got the washi tape piece. This is our designer series paper in a sense. And we're going to go ahead and put some adhesive on that. And it's just regular cardstock on the back, even though you get that cool like washi tape feel on the front with the smoothness. It's just regular cardstock on the back. And let me pick this up and I'm going to layer that evenly between. I'm gonna look because I think I might have cut this just a bit too long, so I'm gonna trim that on the flip side. Grab my scissors. Got that little bit of white edge there, so I'm just gonna trim that off. If you have that on yours, you can do the same. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and then layer that on our front of our card. And I'm just going to leave a little gap of the Lost Lagoon there to get that nice color contrast. And come in with my green detail piece. If you have some little pieces still stuck in there, just kind of work those out with your take your pick tool or uh, just your fingers. Okay, I need to do my label. So you've got a punch out label here. So you've either got one in you've got one in Lost Lagoon, one in Pretty Peacock. You're going to want to take your label and cut it in half. Okay? And then we're going to put a little adhesive. And I'm going to use my seal for that so I can know that it's kind of right in place where I want it and not going to move around. So I'm going to create a nice layer here. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same on the bottom. Trying to make them even. I've got maybe like a 1/4 inch layer there. Do whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you would like. And I'm going to put some dimensionals on there. Okay. I'm going to put that right about there. I'm going to center these points kind of like with my line on my layer of pretty peacock there. That's what works for me. You can absolutely do whatever you want to do yourself. And then I am going to cut my stem off of this because I'm tucking that down in. So I just want to kind of get an idea of my placement before I go to put it down and figure out what I want to do. Okay, I'm thinking. I think I actually want to cut off these two little pieces right there because I want it to tuck down a little bit more. There we go. That's where I like it. I'm just kind of talking out loud here. You can kind of see my process. So I'll do this one first. Put a little bit of adhesive on these points, kind of the leaves that aren't die cut, like the centers out. So then I've got a little bit more real estate, so to speak, to put the glue. So we're going to press that down because it is going on the washi tape. So you do want to just give it a little hold right there. And then we're going to do the same with some glue. Oh, sorry, got really close to the camera there. Let's put a little glue there on the back of this one and tuck that under there too and hold that in place. Okay. Then I need to put my inside layer on. There we go. Okay, let me get all these little scraps out of the way and my glue cap. Okay, so there is our second card. So again, you're going to have one in the Lost Lagoon base, one in the Pretty Peacock base, but the colors will like kind of like they rotate and are different on each one, but very complementary. You still got the garden green, you've got both of the all the shades of blues in there, and they both work together. Now, here is another project to show you. This is a project using a very similar color template palette that we've used on this one, but only on this project, I used the full sheet of washi tape. I didn't cut it in half, so you get where it looks much more like a larger piece of designer series paper. A couple of things to keep in mind when you're using this washi tape is you can, like I've put it on white cardstock, but you could put it on like basic beige and that would soften the background even more. You could put it on very vanilla. You could also on your cardstock, be it white, vanilla, beige, whatever, you could stamp it and that would give extra dimension and texture to the background because the washi tape is clear, so you're going to be able to see that through. So just a couple different things to kind of keep in mind when you're using the washi tape. It's a really cool product. If you haven't ever used it, I encourage you to give it a try. All right, let me clean up the supplies for this project and I'll be right back with another one. Okay. All right, this is our next project, and this is just a very simple, beautiful sympathy card. When you're sending a sympathy card, you don't really want something that is like, glittery and sparkly and just all the things. You want it very just soft, subtle. It's just such a caring time that you're sending somebody to let them know that you're thinking of them. And it's a difficult time, but you want it to be also uplifting to them. So the flowers, just a very soft background here. So let me share with you what we are using on this project here. I'll put that to the side. We're using the new Flowers Fair background stamp, which is a large photopolymer stamp. I've got that right here on the Stamparatus. So we're going to use that. And that is something new from the March online exclusives that you can get. We're also using the Loveliest Tree stamp set. I chose the Sending Heartfelt Sympathy sentiment out of that one. So I've pulled from a couple different things. Um, Grabbed that one, and then I'm using the Right Words, which we've used before. I love this stamp set. It's very versatile. And on this one, I chose the Hoping the Loss You Feel Right Now will be eased by the wonderful memories. And then I also grabbed Inspiring Imperfections because I wanted a flower to be able to stamp on the inside or your envelope at class. I wanted the ladies to be able to do that. And I felt like this flower was very complementary to that. At class, once the stamp, we're using white crafting on it, it would have all the just white crafting. I wanted to simplify it, so by providing this one to use with a Misty Moonlight, they were able to decorate their envelope or the inside of their card. So that's where that image came out of. Okay, we're also using a blender pen, which sales come in a 3-pack in the catalog, and one 3-pack will last you a while. Misty Moonlight is an ink that we're using along with the white craft pad. And then I'm also using the Label Me Fancy punch as well. Okay, so the supplies that you have in your kit for this particular one, if you're doing the craft along, you've got, of course, your basic white envelope. You've got a piece of thick basic white cardstock. So you're going to notice that this is heavier and sturdier than our normal cardstock. It's because it's thick basic white. We're using that as our card base, and I like to use the heavier weight for that. So it is a 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Then you've got a piece of Misty Moonlight that is four. Let me see. I want to make sure I get the measurements right on this because it's a little different than my normal measurements. It's 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So you can see on the project, we've got a very slim margin of white, just a little pop of white around there. So it's cut almost to fill up the full front of the card. Then you'll have a punch out from the Label Me Fancy punch. You'll have one in the Misty Moonlight. We're going to cut that in half, so keep that in mind. And then you've got a piece of ribbon in your packet, which is about, I think, 5.5 as far as the length. Now, you will have, in this one, I've got the diagonal striped one. You could have the white grosgrain, you could have the twill, you could have the diagonal striping. So I needed quite a few ribbon for this class, and I ended up substituting just different white ones. So you might have any one of these three in your craft along packet. All will work wonderfully well. All right, let's go ahead and fold our card base in half and flatten that score line. Okay. We're going to start by stamping our blossoms on the Misty Moonlight. Let me move this aside here. So for class, I kind of made a guidance for everyone to be like, hey, put your cardstock here. If you happen to be one of the people that signed up with Stampin' Up in February, you got our new stamp positioner for free. So that's super cool. It's supposed to be coming out for purchase. I don't know a release date, but they said in a future catalog. But I'm still using the Stamparatus that Stampin' Up had years ago. I love this thing. It works great for me. I use it at class. The ladies love it. So I'm just gonna, keep on with a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So let me move this so you can see what I'm doing in the camera here. Move that. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to take my white craft pad and I'm just going to ink that background stamp. And it is a very delicate lined ink stamp. So you don't want to like really push really hard in there. You're going to get ink everywhere. You just want to have a gentle tap all the way around. Okay. And then you're going to take your stamp and then bring the Stamparatus around and press down. Let me get my little knob here to give it a good press. Okay, so I'm going to press that down and then bring it up. And voila, look at that. Beautiful blossoms. Okay, so this is our white craft ink. So it does stay a little wet for a little while. Not like our traditional water-based inks where you can kind of touch it right away. This does take a little bit longer to dry. So I'm going to set that aside. But while it's drying, we're actually going to do a little bit more coloring with it too. So let me get my blender pen. And what I'm going to do is take my blender pen and just put it right on the ink pad and pull some of that white ink. And it's going to then give me a little bit of a pen that I can use. And that's really intense. So I'm going to come back in there. I don't want it to be too much. So you can see that I'm just kind of gently filling in. I'm going to come back in. Now I am just coloring in the little daisies. I just wanted a pop of white, a little bit more to kind of accent them. You could absolutely do all your flowers if you wanted to. I just wanted to do these little guys. Yeah, see, okay. Go back where I had a lot and pull from that a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to color down here. And here. This is just a little bit detailed. I probably should have had some of these done so you didn't have to sit here and watch me do all this. Okay, I'm going to come back and pull some of that color too. Make sure. Okay, now I'm going to pull a little bit more color and put a little bit more white. And this will tone down as it sits. So you're like, oh my gosh, Christina, that's a little bit bright. They're already toning down. You can see how they're fading. Just as it's like absorbed into the cardstock. And so I'm really just doing this to add a little color to the blossoms, like a little shadowing. I'm not going so much for precision and being like, oh gosh, this one isn't done um, thoroughly. That's not what I'm going for. You can really do as you would like. Let me see. Did I miss any one of them? I got them all. Okay. I'll go back in and fill this one in just a little bit more. Okay. I think we're good. Okay, so I've done the little daisies. Let me get that little guy. Turn that around a little bit because that one was really strong. So then I'm going to take my blender pen and I will just wipe it off. I can do that on my chamois to get some of that white ink out. And then put my cap back on and be able to use it again. So blender pens are great. Typically, you would pull the ink from the lid of the pad if you were wanting to color, say, with a Misty Moonlight or something. But I wanted to use the white just to keep that softness here. I'm going to go ahead and leave this open because I've got a stamp with the Misty Moonlight. I'm going to shut this. We're done with the white. Okay, I'm going to come in here with my stamp, ink that up with Misty Moonlight and do my heartfelt sympathy there. Okay. And then let me grab my mat here because I want to stamp a blossom on the inside. And little blossoms there. I think that complements the card really nicely. Let me put that over there and do some on the envelope. And I'll just do a single one and a double. There we go. Just kind of talking to myself here. Okay, got the envelope done. Oh, I need to do my inside greeting or inside sentiment. And back here. There we go. Okay, I'll go ahead and shut the ink pad. Okay. And we're ready to kind of layer and assemble our card here. What did I do with my, there it is. I knew I had a little punch out, but I couldn't find the little guy. Okay, so we're going to come back in with the Label Me Fancy punch, and I'm going to insert my cardstock here on the side through the top of the punch and just get it to the point where I'm like, I like where the position is. Go ahead and punch that out. And then cut this in half. So we're going to give that faux layer, kind of like we did on the last project here. So let me go ahead and do that. Put a little adhesive. Go. Build our layer there. I like about 1/4 of an inch of color. You can totally do whatever you want. If you want a really thin margin or you want to make it bigger, go right ahead. Press that down. Now I do have this, I'm going to put it up on some dimensionals so you can see here I've got some dimension to it. Little tip here. So I'm going to come in and use the sides of my dimensionals. So I'm going to cut these. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on the edge of my label piece. So see how I'm putting them right up towards the edge there? And I'll do a third one. I'll just do it here in the center because I'm going to run my ribbon through there. And sometimes if you're putting a ribbon on and you put dimensionals right on there, then your label becomes floppy on your card because it's not actually made contact with the card base. So let me come back in with my ribbon and get that fastened. Needed to grab some Scotch tape. I always like to fasten the ribbon behind the cardstock with Scotch tape. That's just my personal preference. I feel like I need like a couple more fingers here. Okay. So bring that around and put that. I'm just trying to hold the Scotch tape and be able to put the ribbon down at the same time. So we've got our layer of ribbon. I'm going to come back in with creating the sentiment piece, take off these little tabs. Okay. So then that way I can put my sentiment down there and kind of get it on each side of that ribbon. So I'm not flopping around. It's stable to the card. That's what we want. We're good to go. All right. So then I'm going to come back in with, because we've got the ribbon, I'm going to go ahead and use my Stampin' Seal on here. Some of that down and we'll place this on. And this is going to be, like I said, a really tight little frame. Okay, so you just get that very fine line of white, little pop, and it just kind of accents the flowers there. I think anyway, that was what I was going for. Okay, so there is our third project. And I'm going to clear off these supplies and I will come back with one more project for you. Okay, all right, here is our fourth and final project for today's class. I hope you're still with me and hanging on as we create this last one. So this is just a very sweet, soft note. May you feel God's care and healing as you recover. So if you've got anyone recovering from either just being ill or having a surgery or what have you, this is a great sentiment to send a card, a great sentiment to send for that particular occasion. Okay, and then inside just sending a little love. All right, so let me share with you what we're using on this project. This is a new embossing folder, and isn't it beautiful? Oh my goodness, and it goes so well with the product of the month for February. So let me share this with you. I'm going to set that out of the shot here a little bit and share with you what we're using. So I've brought the Prayers and Promises stamp set back in, and we are using the sentiment for the front right here, and then the Sending Love as well. So both of those out of this stamp set. And that is in the current mini catalog. And then we're using the cutest crew. And you're like, Christina, there are no cats and dogs or birds on this project. I know. I actually used this little cluster of flowers because I thought it went so well with this designer series paper and the embossing folder. So I grabbed this one. But I have got to share this with you because it is adorable. Like we will be using this in class coming up. We don't even have a cat or a dog. And I just thought this is so cute. I've gotta get that stamp set because I know a lot of people that do. Like my son has cats. And so yeah, I think it's just adorable. So you've got this fun stamp set and then these great little dies that cut these borders out. But then look, you've got these little detail guys, like these little detailed little kitty cats and birds and dogs. Like how cute is that? And then this border with the little paw prints. You can kind of see them on the back here. So I think this one's going to be really fun. This is an online exclusive that was just released in March. And it may actually, the dies may not be available right now because it was so hugely popular. Like I think I think there's a little bit of weight on these, but put it on your wish list, cutest crew, and grab it when you can get it. Super cute. We're also using the 2-inch circle punch, petal pink ink, and flirty flamingo ink. And then this is the new Lazy Daisy 3D embossing folder. This is also part of our online exclusives too. Super cute. Love this one. We're using the, oh gosh, let's see. It's the basic white. It's like it's got the tattered to it. We've used it before, and I love taking this ribbon. It was on the clearance rack, but I don't think it's on there anymore. But I know you can, we have tons of ribbon options. But I love cutting this in half and shredding it to give you this like a little bit like lived in kind of ribbon. Not that you're living in ribbon, but you know what I'm saying? It's like a little worn. I guess that would have been a better word to describe it, a little worn. So we're also using that. And then here is the star of the show, or well, everything all works together in here. I shouldn't say it like the star of the show, but this is the product of the month for February, and it is still available. It's called Painted Illusions. It's a pack of 12 sheets of designer series paper, and you can get it for $5. So you've got these these 4 patterns. Okay, so these 4 here. Let me get that. There we go. Got them all 4 in there. There's like a little softer, more subtler side. And then we're gonna flip it over and you've got these 4. Okay. So these 2, when people were looking at this, they were like, oh, they're the same. Not really. So this one is all like a rainbow effect with the lines kind of going across the entire paper, where this one is more like a swirl, like just like windy. I don't know. I think of wind, but colored wind, I guess you'd say. I don't even know. Then this one is kind of an ombre effect with little petals. And then you've got this one that just looks like really cool leaf patterns. I don't know, but you get 4 of each, or no, 4 designs, 3 sheets of each. So I love that we're getting 3 sheets of each of those papers, particularly because I was using these for classes and I needed a lot. So I was appreciative of that to be able to have extra. So I think this is a great paper pack and super versatile. Okay. All right, so back to our project. So everything is flush to the card except for the sentiment is popped up. Keep in mind you want to put this ribbon down before you put your embossed layer down. So hang with me there and we'll kind of go through that step by step. Okay, so our supplies. So we've got our envelope. We've got a piece of the ribbon that I've already cut in half, and I'll do a little one to kind of show you what I did if you've not already seen me do that before. We've got a piece of Flirty Flamingo that's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I've got a piece of the basic white, and this is at 4 1/8 and 5 3/8. So again, we've just got a very slim border of Flirty Flamingo around there. This embossing folder is like the star of the front there. It really adds a pop, and then you've got that paper to kind of complement that. Then we've got our inside layer that's 3.5 by 5. We've got a piece of designer series paper, and you have one like this, which is mostly like the petal pink, and you can have one like this, which just has Fleur de Flamingo and petal pink. It's kind of like an ombre a little bit. Both will work well with the project. It is cut 3 by 4. And then you've got a piece of the little floral one, and that is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 square. And then you'll have an extra piece for your punch out circles for your sentiment. So we will start by folding our card base in half and flatten that with our bone folder. Set that aside. Let's do this little ribbon trick. And I'm going to come in with a little set of paper snip or my little ribbon snips. I had a pair of our paper snips that I just used for ribbon, and then they got used for other things, and they're not as sharp as I like for my ribbon scissors. So these are a little pair I got until Stampin' Up comes out with another pair of ribbon scissors, because you currently can't get paper snips. So I've just scored that or cut that maybe like 3.5 inches. I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing. That's a 4. Yeah, I'm gonna say 3.5 inches. I need a little piece for my tie. So what I did was cut this ribbon in half. So the ribbon that you have in your packet, this is what I will have done to it for you. I've cut it in half. Okay. And then what I did was I took and just pulled fibers. So you can see how I'm pulling these fibers like this. There we go. Pulled those out. Now I've got it all over my space here. Okay. So then I've got that little tattered edge there where the ribbon came out. And then I just took my fingers and kind of went like this. So then it gives it that frayed edge on both sides. That's all I did. So we've got that for our little tie piece. Get these little pieces off here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. I'm going to do that in the Fleur de Flamingo. I will go ahead and open up the petal pink. Okay. And I'll stamp that down. Clean that off. And let's go ahead and grab our little inside layer too, and I'll go ahead and do that. So a little trick here. I've got the petal pink out and I've got the Fleur de Flamingo out. So I'm going to show you, I'll stamp on both sides so you can see what I'm talking about. So on the inside of this card, I've got a strong color here, which is the Fleur de Flamingo, and then I've got the petal pink, right? So what you can do, if you just got this one ink at home, you can stamp Fleur de Flamingo and then just go to the side and get very close to petal pink. So let me stamp this off again and then stamp it to the side, okay? If you've got both inks, so I'm going to flip it over, do the same thing I'll try to share with you. So you can stamp the blossoms with the Fleur de Flamingo, clean that off, and then I'll go to my petal pink and get that for each side. So what I'm saying is if you only have the one color ink and you want a lighter shade, just stamp it and then stamp it off. You get a lovely like different color tone either way you do it. Just wanted to share that. Okay. And the sending love. And let's do some flowers on the edge of the envelope. Okay, so we've got that. And I think we've got all of our stamping done. So we're going to go ahead and close those ink pads. Okay. Come back in with our circle punch. And again, bringing that up through the top and just kind of center where we want it. Give that a punch out. Okay. So now we've got all of our pieces. We're ready to go ahead and start layering. So let's first build our layers of designer series paper, because remember, we've got to put that ribbon on before we put it to the front of our card. Let's get some Tombow adhesive. Put a little glue on there. And I want to set this flush to the side. Again, you can put this however you want. Okay. And then I'm going to take my little floral piece and put that in the center and flush to the other side. Okay. Then I'm going to grab some tape from my ribbon here. Okay, so I've got my two little pieces of Scotch tape, and I'm going to take my ribbon and fasten that around the back side. So I'll do one here, and then I'll flip it over just to check it. Okay. And do the second one. Okay. I'm going to trim that little guy off there. Okay, so I've got my ribbon down in place before I put it on my card front. Because I've got ribbon and a lot of layers there, I'm going to go ahead and run some of my snail adhesive on there and put that in place. And again, it's going to be a very, very thin frame. Okay. Right. Let me go ahead and put that in that layer inside. Okay. And we're going to put our sentiment on with some dimensionals. And okay. Just going to put that in the center or wherever you'd like. You can put your placement wherever you might like. And then I'm going to take this smaller piece of ribbon and just bring that underneath my fastened longer piece. And I'm just going to tie a knot, or just a tie, really. I'm not tying it more than once. And kind of put that, you can put the placement wherever you want on your card, because it's you've slid it under there, you have the ability to slide it up and down. I want it towards the top, so I'm just going to trim off the edges of the ribbon. Okay. And there's our envelope for this one. Okay, and that's our fourth card. Okay, before I bring all the projects back in, let me share with you a couple things about the ink pads here. So let me put this aside. Okay, so this is new. These are the new in colors. They're going to be coming out May 1st in the May catalog. So Stampin' Up! Is going to um, 3 catalogs. You know what? I'm going to flip the camera around and talk to you about this. But these are the colors. So we've got a blush color, crisp cantaloupe is returning. There's a light yellow, which kind of seems to me, I'm like wondering how close it is to So Saffron. I haven't seen it yet. And then a green and an amethyst kind of color. So that's what's coming out. But you'll see that the ink pad designs are a little different. So we're going to talk about that in a minute here. So let me bring the cards back in. So we've got this one. We've got our sympathy one here. The thinking of you. Let's see if I can get these all in the shot here. And lastly, we've got these two, Lost Lagoon and the Pretty Peacock. That was just another design there to share. So those are cards that we created. You, of course, will have all four of these because you're going to have the split design as far as the colors, and then you're going to have two of each of these too. So let me turn this camera around here. Hang on just a second. Okay. All right, here we are again. So I hope that you enjoyed these projects I had to share with you today. I really enjoyed creating with them and using these new projects or the new products and just kind of coming up with these designs. So I hope that you'll give the techniques a try. I hope you'll try that washi tape because I think it's super fun. And it's probably going to be gone. I don't know that it's carrying over, so grab it while you can in both of the designs because they're super versatile. So what I wanted to kind of talk with you a little bit about is that Stampin' Up! Is going to change to three catalogs throughout the year. Instead of having like our one, see, let me grab this. Our one big annual big book catalog that comes out like May 1st and goes until April 30th. We're not going to do that anymore. So gone are the days of the big book. Um, they will look more like, grab this one. They'll look more like our mini catalogs, but they're going to be where this one is about 75 pages. They're supposed to be about like 85 pages. So it'll be like 10 pages bigger. And inside each of these quarterly, I don't even know if it's quarterly because they're going to last 4 months. So 4 months and a quarter is like 3 months and a quarter. Anyway, um, they will have like our core products, like our inks, our cardstock, our envelopes, things like that you see in this catalog only, mostly are listed. They're going to be in a section of this catalog all the time, I guess. This is what we're being told. I don't really know. I haven't seen the new catalog yet. Um, so we're going again from like it'll be May to August catalog, and then there'll be a September to December catalog and a January to April catalog. So three minis. It's a little something different. It's a way to kind of give you offer you products in a catalog option three times a year instead of like the big book. And then sometimes that's forgotten because the minis come out and everybody's excited about things that are in there. And you forget about all the great products that are in this catalog, which I've used several of them today. So they just sometimes end up not getting a lot of love after the holiday catalog comes out. So that is a change that's coming up. As I mentioned about the ink pads, the design of the new in colors, the ink pad, they're going to be a magnetic pad. So some of our ink pads are like the misty light. Sometimes they are very hard for people to open with like arthritis in their hands or just their hands are really, they don't want to cooperate. I mean, sometimes mine are like that when I'm stamping too much or whatever. I'm just like, it's difficult to open sometimes. So they've listened to that. And the ink pad design that we're going to have is actually what Close to My Heart used to have. They had a magnetic pad. So the lid where this pad flips up and open, the lid will come off and it will be magnetic and it'll come off and you can tack it to the side and it or underneath, however you want to. But it is magnetic. They will be a little longer but slimmer. And they are going to be an increase in cost. The new ink colors and the ink pads were, I believe they're $14, where these I think are $9 now. So a little bit of a price increase. We'll have to see if all the hype is, what it's all about. I don't know. I haven't seen one yet, so I can't offer you, but you do know that I will be honest with you. Once I try them out, we are going back to the felt pads instead of the dense foam like what we have here. We're going back to the old felt pads. So that'll be in the new magnetic pad. So it's something kind of like, we'll check it out all together. So another thing that I wanted to mention is we are having a price increase. I think I kind of mentioned that in the video. There are like cardstock, let's see, select cut, Stampin' Cut and Emboss products, the heat tool, cutting and scoring blade multi-pack. That was easy for me to say. Coloring tools, which probably like our blends are going up. Which if you got some when they were on sale, good for you, yay you, because that was a fabulous deal and now they're going up in price. Our storage options, select adhesives, envelopes, cardstock, our basic white envelopes and packets, those are going up Designer Series paper is supposed to increase. The ink pads and ink refills prices going up, and select embellishments. So we're definitely having a price increase, but that is like, it's the nature of the world right now. I mean, everything is going up. And so just be mindful with your purchases. And I mean, if you're like me, you have retired products that you still love to use. So the point of it is just to create cards and really just share that card making with others and brighten their day. I mean, that's what it's all about, at least in my opinion. So yeah. I don't know. That's just it in a nutshell there. So I'll stop talking so that we can end the video and you can finish creating your cards if you haven't finished them. But I am so grateful that you joined me today for this class. I hope you love the projects and I can't wait to see you in person, maybe at the April class. If you can't make it in person, though, there's always a craft along option for you to choose. And I'm happy to share paper crafting with you either way, craft along or in person. I love to have you. So thank you so much for joining me. Continue to create your paper sunshine and send it out to brighten somebody's day. All right. Happy stamping. Bye-bye.